Good evening, ADOS and allies. I'm not sure how many of you are still up to come onto the chat for this live. I was having major difficulty, technical difficulty earlier when trying to get Marlon on the live. I could hear him, but many of you stated that you could not hear him. And he was offering and dropping some serious knowledge on the subject of why we need to show up in Obama-style numbers to the polls during the primary, or else we risk hurting the ADOS poor that we're all working very hard on behalf of predominantly. When I was on Fox Soul, I shared with you a strategy of showing up to the polls and voting down ballot while stating that whether it was the presidential candidate or someone running for the House of Rep or someone running for the Senate, if they were not offering reparations nor a Black agenda, that we were to fill in ADOS or skip the line if we didn't have a blank. Since speaking with Marlon about how 41% of ADOS receive federally funded benefits like Section 8 housing, food stamps, things of that nature, I got to rethinking that strategy. And I realized that if we have a Republican Congress, meaning they have the House and the Senate, that we run the risk of hurting the very poor ADOS that we are trying to help. I've already shared with you in numerous videos, as well as on the Fox Soul show, that of 100 trillion household dollars, 107 trillion household dollars, white people share $100 trillion. 90% of Black people share 700 billion with a B dollars. And 10% of Blacks share $2.3 trillion with a T. Now, if Black immigrants comprise 10% of all the Blacks in this country, who is actually benefiting from the $2.3 trillion of the $3 trillion that Blacks have to share in this country? It's reasonable to deduce that Black immigrants are sharing in that $2.3 trillion, while ADOS, whose ancestors built this country with their lives, share 700 billion. And of those 90%, according to the data Marlon Aldridge pulled, 41% are receiving federal assistance. So we literally cannot afford, for the sake of the ADOS poor that we are trying to help, we can't just show up and skip on the down ballot candidates. I am definitely all for skipping or filling in ADOS for the presidential candidate. But I intend to vote Democratic down ballot to ensure that we have a Democratic Congress. The president doesn't matter as much as the Congress does. And our hands will be tied to have Donald Trump as president. But he is already rolling back programs to help the ADOS poor. It's all in the headlines. I think he's coming for disability, he's come for food stamps. And so if we don't do our part and show up in Obama-style numbers, and vote Democratic down ballot. As I mentioned prior, it's going to hurt the ADOS poor, and they have it hard enough. Now, there was a Forbes article that Antonio Moore from Tone Talks often quotes from that says that we will be at zero wealth by 2053 if we do not get reparations. I venture to say we're wealthless right now. Here in Los Angeles, ADOS is $200 liquid. In Boston, ADOS is $8 liquid. This country has $23 trillion in debt. They have given Israel more than $233 billion towards their Holocaust, while Bernie Sanders says no to our repair. We've got to move as a block family. If we don't learn to unite on these strategies, we will never get the Democrats to cooperate with our demand for reparations in the Black agenda. And I have to remind you yet again that we are in the fight of our lives to prevent from becoming the permanent underclass in the country that our ancestors built with their lives. We have got to demand reparations in the Black agenda in exchange for our vote, because the Democrats are working fast and furious to not need our vote by opening these borders and replacing our vote with that of the Mexicans. Biden supported Bush in the war. I have a video that was leaked and how he was commending Bush for going into war with Iraq, which we all know was totally the wrong thing to do. The government had spent over $8 trillion on that war and counting, because because Trump went after a very popular general and murdered him. We're on the brink of another war that's going to keep us over there longer, when Trump and Obama promised they were bringing our troops home. And who do you think that largely impacts? ADOS. Right now, they don't even have to do a draft because they have offered to pay off student loan debt in exchange for our children's service in the military. They're not sending their kids to the front lines. They're sending ours. And like I said on Fox Soul, if we don't learn to strategize and move as a bloc, we will further delay reparations in a Black agenda. We have got to stop being the mules of the Democratic Party. The ADOS movement is in place to break that cycle, and our very lives depend on it. If you think education and job experience makes it hard for you to get gainful W-2 employment with benefits because we have no more protection under the law that states corporations have to hire us, we have no social capital. Imagine how much harder it is for the 40% poor who rely on the federal benefits for their very survival. This is rough, family, but we've got to play chess, not checkers. And the truth of the matter is, we're not ready to allow for a Republican Congress and a Republican president. If Trump gets in, which is feeling very likely, then we need to make sure there is a Democratic Congress in place because, in my humble opinion, this is a two-party system, and the Democrats owe us reparations. We have voted for them for 60 years, and we are on the bottom. So, family, you got some hard decisions to make. I'm showing up this primary season and voting Democratic down ballot to send a message to the Democratic candidate that wins the primary that they need to include reparations and a Black agenda for ADOS or risk the same come the general. That is the message that we send to the Democratic Party when we show up in Obama-style numbers and vote Democratic down ballot. That's pretty much all I have to say on that, but I had to come on the live because on the Fox Soul show, I said skip every candidate, presidential candidate, and those running for Congress that aren't offering reparations and a Black agenda. What I'm asking of you, a call to action, is to find out all the candidates who are running locally and for the state, in your respective state, and schedule meetings with those candidates to ask what is their plan to grant ADOS reparations and a Black agenda leading up and through the general. Hold their feet to the fire. Force their hand to make us a part of the agenda. And if not, come the general, they will regret it. All right, family, it's late. I'm tired, but I had to get that out there to you. I do hope your chapters get moving on this immediately. Early primary is around the corner for many of us. And we've lost Marianne Williamson. She's no longer in the race. She was the only candidate who was full-throated about reparations. And we decided her number was too low, so we wouldn't give her the support she so desperately needed. I don't know how you guys think she can be on the campaign trail and tell the truth about what we're owed, but that's water under the bridge. I couldn't let another day go by without coming on the live to share my intention, which is what Yvette Carnell from Breaking Brown has rolled out. Show up, fill in ADOS, or skip the line if you don't write in, and vote Democratic down ballot. This is a primary strategy. We need all hands on deck. And with that said, I want to say one last thing. Tara Perry is running for City Council in District 8, and she needs all hands on deck. ADOS SoCal is hosting a call to action meeting on Friday, January 17th at 7 o'clock at the party venue in Los Angeles. We need you guys to show up in droves to show your support. And for those of you who want to become members, we're going to transition into a brief training after we introduce ADOS SoCal, the movement at large, and Tara Perry who will discuss the items that she's running on, including reparations and a Black agenda. And she's going to share why the current city councilman, Marquise, is not a right fit for the direction that we're headed as ADOS here in Los Angeles. So please come out, show your support. Email us that you'll be in attendance at ADOS1619@gmail.com. Until, family, the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Wherever ADOS and its allies are, God is, and so it is. Good night.